Well, Heidi ho, my peeps. I wanted to take you along on my dinner journey tonight. I have some chicken in the pan. I turned it off because it was making too much noise. But I wanted to show you my creative idea for dinner. Okay, here is what's left of the pinwheel roll-ups that I had bought for my friend's funeral last week. There's a little bit of a croissant sandwich here too that I'll set aside because I know Grant will eat that just the way it is. The deal with these pinwheels, I bought them Saturday, so they're beginning to get just a little bit soft, a little bit mushy. Now, most of this tray plus another tray all went to the funeral, the home of the woman whose funeral was on Saturday. We kept, I don't know, maybe 4 of these and I don't know how much more of these. Anyway, I kept part of the sandwich trays because there are 4 people living over there, and I took enough food to feed 4 people for a week. I mean, we had a huge tray of this, we had trays of salads, we had trays of cheese, we had all kinds of stuff that went over there. So, so I kept a little bit of this back. Now, when these start to go soft, you know, you don't want them to go bad. I mean, you want to be able to use them still if you can. I was thinking maybe I'd freeze them. And then I got the bright idea, maybe I can use them as the basis for the Swiss style enchiladas. The kind that require the green enchilada sauce and the sour cream and usually a white cheese, of course some chicken, and then flour tortillas. Well, I figured I could unroll these and these would make a nice base for those it'll be a casserole. It won't be enchiladas, but it'll be an enchilada casserole. That way none of this stuff is going to go bad. I have a long and sad story to tell you about the funeral, but that is going to come in a different video. So tonight I'm just gonna go ahead and show you what I'm doing. I'm gonna brown up this chicken, which is probably all I really need, but I'm gonna brown this chicken as well. Then I'm going to mix my Las Palmas and my sour cream in a bowl, get that all mixed up. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up this onion, and that's going to go in here with the chicken to be browned. And up in there I have my favorite spice of all time when it comes to any sort of Mexican food, and that is this cumin. I adore cumin, so I'm going to use a lot of that as my seasoning for this sort of, I don't know, Armenian Mexican fusion casserole. So anyhow, after I get those steps done, I'll come back to you and show where I'm at. Alrighty, so I've cut my onions up into, oh, I would say medium, sort of a medium chop. Now they're going to go into the skillet along with the chicken. I'm going to brown this kind of slowly because I want these onions to cook down and not, you know, not brown real fast. So I've got kind of a medium-low heat down there. Now, the other thing I would be adding to this if I had it was fresh cilantro. And I should probably really make a commitment to getting my garden going so that I can have some of this fresh stuff on hand when I want it. You know, Swiss chard and beet greens and garlic and cilantro, stuff like that. But I am not there yet, so that's okay. I'm not gonna beat myself up about it. I'm just gonna let this stuff cook up for a while. Now, in addition to my cumin, I'm also gonna add some of this dried cilantro. I believe this came from 99-cent store. May have come from Dollar Tree, but I don't think so. I think this was a 99-cent store buy. Got my pink Himalayan salt from Costco, and then I've got some red pepper flakes. These came from the 99-cent store as well. This other stuff, like the sour cream and the Las Palmas, came from a regular grocery store. I got this chicken at Trader Joe's. It was you know, all natural, hormone-free, blah blah, and I just picked it up because it wasn't a very bad price. It was kind of a reasonable price. And then, of course, my big old package of cheeses. This came from Costco, and I'm going to use a combination of those white cheeses in this casserole. So what we're going to go ahead and do, well, you know, it's probably a little too early to preheat the oven. This is going to cook for a while, but I'm going to put it in a, well, I'll show you what I'm going to put it in. One of those big old jadeite casserole pans that I have down there. I may actually have enough food to make 2 of those casseroles. I think I will. Oh, while we're over in this part of the kitchen, have you guys ever seen these squash? These are called delicatas. I did a video. Oh, it's on there. Oh, that's part of my onion. Anyway, I did a video about these, oh, I don't know, last year sometime. These squashes, you can just put them right in the oven. I mean, scrub them, put them in the oven just like this. Once they've baked for a while and they get, you know, soft enough to cut, you cut them open, bake them a little bit longer. Then when they're almost done, you put butter and brown sugar down in the center. So you can treat them like an acorn squash. Of course, you don't have to make them a sweet dish. You can just salt and pepper them if you want to. But we really, they're such a wonderful, I mean, the squash flavor is so wonderful of these. They just really kind of lend themselves to that whole brown sugar and butter thing. So, anyhow, okay, well, when this is done browning, I will come back and we will get it all seasoned, and we'll get the sauce on it and put it in the oven. Okay, my chicken and onion is cooking down nicely. I've just seasoned it. I've used about a teaspoon of my Himalayan salt. I've used about a half a teaspoon of the red pepper. I've used about 2 tablespoons of cilantro, and then about a teaspoon of my cumin. And that's all still sitting on the top there. I'm going to go ahead and give this a little zhuzh. And when this finishes cooking down, I think it's going to probably take about another 10 minutes or so. Then I'm going to bring you back and show you how I layer this casserole up. Okay, I'm preheating my oven at 350. What you see here are 5 of the individual roll-ups that I unrolled and laid in a lightly oiled casserole. So I ended up having 10 total. So I've got 5 here reserved. I think as I eyeball this, I can do the entire thing in this one casserole dish. So that's the first layer. Now the second thing I'm going to add will be half of this chicken, and I'm just going to, you know how you do, just kind of sprinkle it on there like so. I poured the juice that was in the bottom, or most of it that was in the bottom of this pan, I poured it into my sauce so I didn't lose any of the seasonings and stuff that I put in there. So maybe one more of these. Okay, so there we go. That's about half the chicken. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir up this juice, this chicken cooking juice. Stir it right into my sauce here. Okay. Now I'm going to ladle about half of this sauce onto the pan. I've got to cross my stove to do it here. So we're going to go over here. It's going to be, there's one ladle. I think it's gonna take 3 ladles to do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and put you down. I ladled about half of my sauce on top of the chicken and unrolled pinwheel sandwiches. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of these white cheeses. There's a Swiss, a Havarti, and what's the other one? And a golden Gouda, a Dutch Gouda. So I'm going to go ahead and just randomly lay these on top of the sauce, and I'll let you see what that. I've layered up all the cheese that you just saw in the last frame, with the exception of 2 slices, on top of the sauce. So now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and unroll those pinwheels, lie them down on the cheese, top it with the rest of this, the rest of that, and another layer of cheese. And there we go. We have this beautiful casserole, kind of overflowing. I'm not going to worry about it. Topped with wonderful 3 different kinds of white cheese. If I were really smart, I would put a layer of foil down in my oven to catch the inevitable drippings that are going to happen with this oversized casserole. So I think I'm actually going to be a good girl and go ahead and do that. I'm going to pop this in the oven. I'm guessing it'll go for about 40 minutes. I'm not going to cover it heavily. I mean, I'm not going to tightly cover it with foil. I'm just going to tint it to keep the top from, from browning too fast. So we're going to come back and give this a taste test in about 40 minutes. And here's the finished product. We've got a lovely bubbly casserole right here. I'm going to get some out corner here. Now this just now came out of the oven, and what that means is that it's going to have to cool for a bit, but certainly before Grant can eat it, because he doesn't like his food super hot the way I like mine. So we'll let that one sit to the side. I think it turned out really neat. Smells wonderful, looks wonderful, and what a great way to use up some, some random food you had sitting in your refrigerator that would definitely go bad before you could eat it. Okay. The little sandwiches, I think, really worked well in there. Okay, we're going to let this cool and then have Grant give us his seal of approval. Okay, well, it's Halloween night, and Grant and I are watching the Stepford Wives, the original. And I wanted him to give you his opinion about tonight's dinner.
It's great.
It is good, isn't it?
It's absolutely great.
Who would have thought you could unroll some pinwheels and sling some leftover cheese and it would end up being such a yummy casserole?
It's yummy, yummy.
Yeah. I've already started laying into mine. Okay, you guys, I'm getting back to my scary movie. Happy Halloween, everybody. Bye.